What's happening, guys? We're back at it, and I got here. It's about 9:30. It's June 30th, and we're just out here trying to catch some fish. And as you guys know, every day of fishing is usually always different. So the goal is to come out here and try to figure out a pattern and figure out what the fish want. So come along. So as I'm fishing these worms, I'm going to try to vary my retrieve. I might drag it for a little bit to see if I get bit on the drag. I might drag it and then pop it a couple times. I might just slowly crank the worm. I have a 6-inch Senko on right now. I have a huge old monster ribbon-tailed worm on by Zoom, and then I have a huge shaky head tied on too. So I'm going to try several different worms in several different locations, and I'm going to try to fish them differently each time I cast. And that's just a trial and error thing, and it's very important that you pay attention to how you're working the bait. So staying focused when you're trying to figure out fish is very, very important. A lot of the times we just get caught up in the moment and we're just going through our routine and just going through the motion, and you don't remember how you caught them. So pay attention to every little detail that you're doing, how you're working the bait, how long you're letting it sit, how long you're letting it rest. Just everything plays into fact, how quick you're reeling it in. It may when it's super, super aggressive, and a lot of the times we don't try to fish worms aggressively, because when do you ever see a worm acting aggressively? You don't. You just see them kind of slowly, moving around and squirming. So we're just going to try to figure them out. Another thing too is changing color up. If you're fishing the green pumpkin and you're not getting bit for a long time, try your watermelon seed, or try a black and blue, or try something that you've never tried before, just to try to entice that bite. So like I said, fishing is of the unknown, and it's a lot of trial and error. So try different things. A lot of the times I'll come out here and try to fish my confidence baits, and it won't work. So I'll try to figure out something else that I don't normally fish, and sometimes it works. So getting out of the norm and not fishing the things that you have a lot of confidence in may be a benefit to you. It might be something the fish don't ever see either. So try different things. Also, when you're fishing bigger worms, you want to upsize your gear a little bit. I don't necessarily upsize my rod to like a bigger rod, but this is a heavy action rod, or a heavy powered rod, which is really, really good for these, these hooks, because if you're going to fish bigger worms, you definitely need bigger hooks. So this is this is not a 5/0 hook, but this is I think a 3/0 hook on a 6-inch Senko, which is pretty good. As you can see, it kind of goes to the length of, or almost mid-range. If you had a huge worm like this and you only had a 3-inch hook, the hookup percentage, or you hooking that fish, is going to be really, really tough. A lot of the times when you upscale your plastics, you want to upscale that hook too. And my line size, I'm about a 14 pound. Sometimes I go 17 pound. And when you set the hook, set it like you mean it. It's about 7 foot of water. I got some fish under me right now. Got some fish in about 6.5 foot of water, and they're from the bottom to about maybe like 3 foot of water. Just kind of moving around. So that's one thing you can think about when you're out here fishing. If you got to keep your eyes on your electronics. Sometimes your electronics will help you out, other than your key locations. If you're not getting bit, ride around a little bit and see kind of where those fish are staged out or staged up. Where they at? What part of the water column are they? On the bottom? Or are they in the middle? This right here, they're about mid-range to the bottom. So dragging a worm and doing what we're doing right now might be a good thing. may look like I'm really reeling this pretty quick, but I'm not. I'm actually keeping bottom contact. Just slowly cranking it. Just keeping that bottom contact, allowing that tail to just do what it's supposed to do. Some water. Now I drug it twice, so now I'm probably going to fish it a little bit faster. I'm throwing it a little bit deeper because it's super shallow here. A little bit deeper, going out to my right hand side. So I'm going to fan cast the depth just to try to see, you know, maybe where they are. Like I said, when they bite this, it is so aggressive. Another thing that I learned about fishing big worms is that you need to make sure that you give them plenty of time to eat that worm. Last year when I started fishing these longer or bigger worms, as soon as I felt that bite, I'd set the hook and they would rip my worm in half. So it's almost like a double bite you'll feel. It's like a boom, boom, and then you can go ahead and set that hook. So I just felt a little bite. Also, when you're fishing this, before you do set the hook, reel up your line or reel your slack in and feel the weight of him, you know, pulling that your line back. You want to set the hook when you feel the weight of that fish, because a lot of the times they might just have the tail end of this in their mouth. So make sure you're giving them plenty of time. I go just a little bit deeper this time. I felt like I had a little nibble. But we'll see. Just slowly cranking. This is a big fat, guys. Oh boy, he's up good too. Got him. Look at that fish. Look at this worm compared to that fish. Oh my God, guys, I'm shaking. Look at that fish on that big worm. And like I said, I did not feel him bite that. Sometimes they'll just pick it up, especially if I was cranking it and it was up in the air and it was coming back down, up in the air, coming back down. They'll grab it sometimes on the way down. You'll never feel that bite. But look at that fish. Cranking a huge worm. Look at this. Probably 8 or 9 pounds. Let's get a weight on him. See what we got. Got 8.3. 8.3. Oh my God. First fish at 8.3. I don't know if you can see that up there. Fish number 1. 8.3. Giant. Sweet. Thanks for playing, little guy. There you go. right, guys, that was pretty awesome. So I pulled out this worm, huge zoom ribbon-tailed worm. It's called the old monster. Now look, I don't know if you can see this, but he has a lot of marks up in this tail. So what he probably did was he probably bit it here first and then came here. So that bite was not what I expected. I was just talking about how the bite is very, very aggressive. Well, that bite was not aggressive. I was slowly, as you can see, I was slowly cranking this huge ribbon-tailed worm. I mean, it is, I think, maybe 12 to, I don't know, let's see, I got a tape measure right here. It's not working with me. So, it's about 14 inches, 14-inch worm. Look how thick it is compared to my finger. I mean, you can just see, it's a big worm. And what I was doing, I just threw it out there and I'm slowly reeling it and then I'm letting it go back down to the bottom. I feel bottom contact from time to time, but I'm not feeling bottom contact the entire time because that's what I was doing the first couple casts, as I was just keeping bottom contact. Well, this one, I switched it up just a tad bit and I was bringing it just a little bit faster, so it might have been coming up off like this. Bottom contact and then up off the bottom just a little bit, and he must have bit it when it was up out of the water. I'm sorry, not up out of the water. He must have bit it when it was coming off the bottom because I did not feel it. When I started to crank, I just had that weight, so I reeled that slack in real quick and set that hook, and sure enough, that was a beast. That was a beast. All right, so we caught that huge fish. I also was very aggressive with that fish. So anytime you're very aggressive with a fish that big, check your line, check for abrasions, all right, because you may need to retie. Because if you're catching fish that big, you might be catching them all day on that, this big old worm. So retie, recheck your line, get back out there, let's try it again. That was actually a little bit deeper, so I want to throw in the deeper water again. Throwing it out there, just let it land, let it sink to the bottom. Man, that was fun. That was fun. Let's try to get another one. Now the bite may not be the same every single time. You still need to vary your retrieve. So if I'm fishing it like this and slow, and fishing it fast and slow like I did last time, and I don't get bit for a while, I'll probably change it up just a little bit. I might start dragging it. I may let it pause there. I might pull it to the side. Who knows? But right there, that just kind of gave me a clue. So I'm going to try to continue that retrieve that I did when I caught that big one, so we can see if we can do it again. So like what I was saying about detail, I remember what my retrieve looked like. So I'm going to go ahead and try to mimic that, because that may be what the bass want. That was pretty cool. Exactly what we wanted when we first came out here. So it's super shallow here, and it drops down into deeper water, so it's almost like we're fishing a ledge. Technically, you would say we were fishing a ledge with this big worm. So just super long cast. Let that worm go all the way to the bottom, so you're covering more bottom, covering more water, covering more of the bottom as well. So let it sink all the way down to the bottom. Just start reeling it in. Man, he wanted that worm so bad. All right, guys, so that pretty much wraps it up. As you can see in the video, our best luck came from dragging big worms or cranking that ribbon-tailed worm. And what I mean by cranking that ribbon-tailed worm means that I'm keeping bottom contact the entire time. And as you can see in one of the clips that we broke off on, to me, a really good one. Usually when you're fishing a bigger bait, we always think that it's going to be a bigger fish. So, you know, it could have been something smaller and it just caught me the right way and just snapped off. We've been here almost 7 hours, so you know that just tells you that you need to go out here and put some time on the water, and a lot of this stuff is trial and error. I wanted to come come out here and fish big worms, but that may have not have been the case, you know, because sometimes they're not biting it and you got to revert to something else. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for upcoming videos. You can also follow me on my Instagram at Bassin' with Buddy. I post a lot of my pictures and some other little things on there too that may give away some tips and stuff like that. But thanks for joining us. See you next